The UK and France have been supplying Ukraine with long-range Storm Shadow cruise missiles, which Ukraine has used to target civilian facilities in Russian territories such as Lugansk and Sevastopol, as well as bridges between the Kherson region and Crimea, as per reports. Russia has acquired the warhead of a British Storm Shadow cruise missile, allowing its military to enhance defenses against this weapon in Ukraine. Russian forces are also training soldiers to target the weak spots of US-supplied Abrams tanks in the conflict. Russian experts have taken apart these missiles to study their components.
The suspension mounting system and main switch, located in the center section, are removed from this unit along with all electrical circuits and wires. This is done in order to have objective control over subsequent changes in the missile's design.
By examining subsequent missiles, technicians can identify whether they are original versions or if there have been any modifications, new components, or potential traps added. Meanwhile, The Telegraph has reported Ukraine has not received permission to deploy British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles against Russian territory, according to sources within the UK Defence Ministry. However, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's comments on July 10th, during the NATO summit in Washington, suggested a potential shift. Starmer indicated that Ukraine might utilize the Storm Shadow missiles for military targets within Russia. He said that the missiles are obviously to be used in accordance with international humanitarian law and for defensive purposes, but it is for Ukraine to decide how to deploy them for those defensive purposes. Starmer's stance mirrored the earlier position of former UK Foreign Secretary David Cameron, who in May stated that Kyiv had the right to use British-supplied weapons on Russian soil. However, Ukrainian sources contested this, clarifying there had been no official approval from the UK at that time. Zelensky even announced on Twitter that he had an opportunity to discuss practical implementation of using Storm Shadow, which is the other name of Scalp missiles, with Keir Starmer. However, a senior defense source from The Telegraph later clarified that the situation remains more nuanced than Zelensky's statement suggested. Permission for long-range missile strikes inside Russia would necessitate approval from 3 countries involved in making the missile. France, which manufactures a variant of the Storm Shadow missile, is presumed to be one of them. The Telegraph source emphasized that firing these missiles into Russia is not going to happen, and that Zelensky would need to seek assurances elsewhere before such actions could be considered. These assurances, according to the source, are far from being finalized. President Zelensky continues to urge Washington for broader permission to strike deep within Russia, including targeting military aircraft stationed on Russian bases. But nations assisting Ukraine still hesitate to grant approval.